Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. And in this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Aspinall versus Tybura. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. So in our first fight, we have in the flyweight division, we got Jafel, Filho versus Daniel Barez. And how I feel about this one right here is I think I'm going average confidence. Jafel, Filho to beat Daniel Barez. I think Dan Barez has some decent striking on the feet. He's definitely working with something on the feet, like good body shots. Chain those combinations low, bring them up top well. But level of competition he fought is just like I can't put it beside him. Like the level of competition is not very good at all. Beating guys that barely even have over 500 records. Most of them probably don't even have 500. Like I don't know, below 500 and damn near 500 records. Like terrible records so far. The guys he's beaten. And he lost on contender series to Carlos Hernandez, who I'm not particularly like high on as far as skills. But yeah, so I'm not particularly high on Barez right now. Like I can see, the skills, but I need to see them at a higher level. And I feel like Jafel Filho has shown skills at a higher level. We see him give Mokaev issues like on the feet and especially on the ground in submission grappling. And we've seen him knock out a decent prospect on the contender series as well versus Dan Barez. He lost on contender series. And yeah, and outside it has been beating tomato cans. So I'm gonna go with Jafel Filho. Also, Barez seems to show a pattern of, being a first round finishing type of fighter. I don't know if somebody say, oh, he's tough, but we have not seen him be tough. We've seen him be exhausted and lose the rest of the fight. Like he won the first round against Hernandez, then he faded. So not trustworthy cardio. It seemed like a 1 round type fighter. Like he might be good for a round. And just lacking in competition, but that's how typically bullies are. Like they beat on mediocre competition. Then when they fight guys that are good, they can look good maybe for 1 round, and beyond that first round, they just turn to a tomato can themselves. So I'm going with Jafel Filho here. I think Barber's gonna have a good round, but I think Jafel Filho will be good throughout, and I think he'll be able to take advantage of a fading Barber's in the second round, be able to clip him, pressure him, and then drag the fight to the mat and tap him out second round. So in this one, I have Jafel Filho via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's strawweight division, we got Bruna Brazil versus Shauna Bannon. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going low confidence. Bruna Brazil to beat Shauna Bannon. I think in this one, I just feel like Shauna Bannon offensive striking just doesn't really have much substance to it. Like she could throw a lot of crafty kicks and whatnot, but with a whole lot of power. I feel like grappling could potentially be a path to victory for her, but her offensive takedown defense is not really all that good, and her takedown defense is even worse. So not the best wrestling at all. Probably pretty much like mediocre wrestling, even outside of UFC. Even when she was fighting, in lower organizations, her wrestling was beneath the level of those organizations. So not really high on her overall, her paths to victory here. I feel like if striking wise, I would want her to do some more kicks with some more heat on them, some more weight behind them, and not just a bunch of little acrobatic and just showing her flexibility, but not really showing her torque or nothing behind her kicks. So yeah, I just feel like Bruna Brazil, has experience, on the contender series, experience in UFC, and Shauna Bannon don't have none of that experience. And again, I feel like her grappling lacks substance and her striking lacks substance. Like it lacks power. Like she's not really planting on her feet when she's throwing her punches, not really putting her weight behind her kicks, just really just throwing them out there and just touching you with her punches and touching you with her kicks. So like definitely an open fight. Like she's undefeated and whatnot. We don't know what she could bring, but last I seen from her, I was not impressed. Like literally her last fight. So I'm going with Bruna Brazil to be able to keep the pressure on her, let her those weak, empty kicks, and just keep pressuring with the Muay Thai, chewing her up with low leg kicks, throwing knees to the body, putting her in the plum, elbows, knees, and just constantly just chewing her legs up and stalking her. And I think she puts her away in the third round. So in this one, I have Bruna Brazil via third round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, we got Chris Duncan versus Yanal Ashmouz. And how I feel I'm going to tongue that, but how I feel about this one right here is I'm going Yanal Ashmouz via average confidence to beat Chris Duncan. I think Chris Duncan is a solid fighter. He shows his well-roundedness in his last fight. For like a heavy wrestling approach in his last fight, and that was able to give him the victory as opposed to using striking in a lot of his other fights. But it is why I think Ashmouz is the better wrestler between two. I feel like he should be able to dictate where the fight takes place. Should be able to stuff most of Duncan's takedowns, probably out take him down 3-1. So like 3 takedowns to 1, if even 1 from Duncan. Then I think on the feet, I think finding success with his striking will open up success on the feet and he'll be able to get Duncan biting on takedown attempts or takedown feints, and now open up the lane over the top and down the middle. I think, Ashmouz was able to catch him, hurt him, and then take full advantage of that in the second round and get him out of there second round. So in this one, I have Yanal Ashmouz via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's bantamweight division, we got Ketlen Vieira versus Pannie Kianzad. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence, Ketlen Vieira to beat Pannie Kianzad. I think with this one right here, I think Pannie, I feel like, in my honest opinion, in my honest just research and just my eye test, I guess, I feel like Pannie Kianzad is the much more technical striker and much more technical fighter overall. But I think resume speaks more than technique. Like somebody say, oh, this guy is better than this guy, or this girl is better than this girl. Oh, she would destroy her in this era. But all you can go is based on how they performed versus their opponent. That's the biggest tell. Like somebody could be 6'9" and do all this stuff. I mean, the picture perfect athlete and this and all whatnot. But they 0-10 in the finals, or they 0-10 in championships, or they look good against mediocre competition, but they choke against or just don't have their track record against elite competition. I'm gonna go with the person that's like 5'7" with a beer belly every single time. Well, not every single time, but yeah, but I might have leaned to them. Even that's a very bad sample or bad, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but whatever case, whatever it is, it's a bad, whatever it is. But nonetheless, Ketlen Vieira is sloppy as a mug on striking and in grappling, but she's physical, she's aggressive, and Pannie Kianzad has not been able to really beat anyone elite or anyone really good. And I don't think it's going to change. I think it's going to be, maybe she might eke out a close split decision here, but again, the track record is not there for her, and at least on Ketlen Vieira's side, it's more so there. She at least has some, relevant wins, whereas Pannie Kianzad, I don't think none of her wins right now are relevant. Matter of fact, yeah, they just keep getting more irrelevant as the months and years go by. So I'm going Ketlen Vieira just to outwork, pressure, be her style. Be sloppy, be in her face, touch her with shots, maybe try to big sister her, try to lean on her, drag her down, pound her out on the ground. I'm not saying she's going to finish her, but I think she's going to just be more physical and aggressive, and that's going to get her to win over the more technical Kianzad. So in this one, I have Ketlen Vieira via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, we got Bryan Barberena versus Makhmud Muradov. And how I feel about this one right here is I got Makhmud Muradov high confidence to beat Bryan Barberena. I just feel like Bryan Barberena coming up to middleweight, he has nothing he's bringing up. And I feel like Makhmud Muradov is definitely, his stocks got dropped unnecessarily. He didn't deserve for stock to drop as much as they did. Obviously, he's still a pretty sizable favorite in this one. But if this was Makhmud Muradov, even with a little bit of the hype he had when he was undefeated in the UFC, he would be like minus 1,000 at least against Bryan Barberena, a failed mediocre welterweight. Well, welterweight journeyman with a couple wins, no real power, not the most technical fighter, herky jerky, fan favorite, low ceiling fighter. He would be, the odds would be ridiculous. But the fact that he lost to Kyle Barallo barely. He gave Kyle Barallo, who's a big prospect now in the middleweight division, he gave him a tough fight. Actually went around against him, a clear round against him. So he's not no slouch. And he was destroying Gerald Machar. He just faded, and Gerald Machar was able to capitalize like he's able to do. Gerald Machar is a veteran who has upset a lot of people, that were supposed to destroy him. So as much as that's a bad loss, it's understandable to some extent. But yeah, I think Makhmud Muradov should be able to win this one. I don't think Barberena barely has power at welterweight. I don't think it's going to translate at all to middleweight. He don't have his offensive wrestling and grappling. Matter of fact, his grappling in general is pretty trash. So can't really see much grappling success for him at all. Matter of fact, I don't see any grappling success for him at all. I guess the best thing is maybe to make it an ugly fight and hope Makhmud Muradov gets tired, and then he could potentially catch a tired Makhmud Muradov outwork him. But yeah, I'm getting too out of point. Either way, high confidence Makhmud Muradov. I just think he's the better overall fighter, and he's the truer middleweight. And Bryan Barberena is not even a sizable. He's really like a smaller welterweight. So coming up to middleweight, he's gonna look dwarfed in there. And I think Makhmud Muradov is gonna pick him apart. Just more technical, bigger, stronger, everything. And I think he beats him and finishes him in the second round. So in this one, I have Makhmud Muradov via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the heavyweight division, we got Mick Parkin versus Jamal Pogues. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going low confidence Mick Parkin to beat Jamal Pogues. I just feel my biggest issue with biggest drawback, biggest concern with Mick Parkin is the fact, both of these guys are fresh to the UFC. So we don't know who they truly are until we see who they truly are, and we don't know who these guys truly are. And what I could analyze most stand out is as far as a con against Mick Parkin's skill set or his skills is his lack of wrestling at times. Like, he got taken down like twice versus a mediocre opponent. Well, not mediocre, but a guy that's not a wrestler at all. Like, you should have better defense against a guy like that he fought in Contender Series. And that could be an issue. And I see him get taken down by some people he should not have getting taken down by. But ultimately, I'm going to lean to him. I feel like he's a truer heavyweight. I feel like Jamal Pogues is barely even a heavyweight. He's another one of these heavyweights lying about his height. He's probably really about 6 feet tall, 5'11", maybe 6'1" on a good day. But they got him listed as 6'3", so another guy lying about his height, or his manager's lying about his height. Now he's just coming in this chunky and stuff. Probably should really be at light heavyweight, or maybe even try for middleweight. Mick Parkin is a truer heavyweight, and I think he can have some potential in the heavyweight division. Will I say he'll be a champion? No, but I definitely see like the skills and the build in the youth to be able to stick in the UFC for a good long time. And who knows? You stick in the UFC, you keep improving, the sky's the limit. So I see the striking there. I feel like he's a more composed striker. Pogues can look good for like a round and a half, but at the end of the day, once you start really getting deep into the striking and deep into the rounds, Pogues start to fade as a striker. You start to see like this guy is not really comfortable on the feet. He's comfortable when he got some energy, but once those reserves start to dip, he's not naturally a striker. He still hasn't really fully acclimated to a striking. So I feel like Mick Parkin overall is the more acclimated fighter, and I think he's going to be able to wear down Pogues over the course of this fight. Then eventually be able to take advantage of maybe a tired Pogues looking for a desperado takedown, and then is able to take his back, sink into hooks, and then look for the rear naked choke and be able to tap out Pogues in the third round. Probably like a comeback victory, lose the first round, get laid on. Second round pretty close. Who knows what it's up in the air. But, Pogues won with a clear round in the first. Second round close, but you probably lean that to Parkin. The third round, Parkin for sure probably needs to finish because he can't guarantee that he won that second and is able to come back, get that rear naked choke, and tap out Pogues in the third round. So in this one, I had Mick Parkin via third round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, we got Marc Diakiese versus Joel Alvarez. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going Joel Alvarez, high confidence to beat Marc Diakiese. How do I feel about this one? I feel the takedown defense or lack thereof, takedown defense for Joel Alvarez is probably my biggest concern. I don't feel no real concern with Diakiese striking. Diakiese can look good on the feet for the most part against guys. He has probably had one or two moments where he looked real good and was able to outstrike, some pretty decent fighters. Like Bannon at one point was a respectable lightweight. I'm not saying he's not respectable now, but he's not relevant right now and probably will never ever be relevant again at the UFC level. But he was still somewhere relevant when Diakiese picked him apart. And I'm forgetting the other dude's name, but pretty good fighter. The guy who other pretty good Irish fighter who finished Conor McGregor, prior to the UFC days. I forget his name. The dude was real solid. He picked him apart on the feet. So, and also y'all wrestled him too. So that was a good look for him. But other than that, decent people for the most part. I haven't seen Diakiese look too impressive against decent fighters on the feet. Most times nowadays he just goes to wrestle them. Even in his debut or close, not to his debut, but it's like his second or third fight. He fought, I think was it Frankie Perez. I forget it. I think that was the dude's name. And he was kind of uncomfortable on the feet, so he just kind of was wrestle heavy that fight. That's before, the recent stint where he's been wrestle heavy. And even in Cage Warrior, they said he goes like more, he did have at times where he was more wrestle heavy. So, but nonetheless, wrestle heavy and at times, and I think he will try to be wrestle heavy in this fight. But no real submission threat. And I think Joel Alvarez will be able to make him uncomfortable and be a threat in submissions, maybe make Diakiese be a little bit hesitant on his shots, which will keep him on the feet a little bit longer and will allow the bigger, longer Joel Alvarez to touch on some shots to, wobble him a bit. And then I think Diakiese is going to look for a takedown. I think Joel Alvarez is going to snap on his patented guillotine and tap out Diakiese. That's what I see in this one happening. So in this one, I have Joel Alvarez via first round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, we got Danny Roberts versus Johnny Parsons. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going Danny Roberts, average confidence to beat Johnny Parsons. So average confidence to beat Johnny Parsons, Danny Roberts. So Johnny Parsons seemed like an okay fighter, but I'm not wowed by nothing. I'm not wowed by his fight IQ. I'm not wowed by his striking technique. I'm not wowed by his athleticism. I'm not wowed by his build. I'm not really wowed by anything he does. He seemed pretty one-dimensional for the most part. Not in a way where he's just one-dimensional, like a guy who just came from striking and don't literally know nothing about MMA. Like, he knows it, but as far as threat-wise, he's one-dimensional as the threat at this level as far as what I've seen. I think the only scary thing is, Roberts can be a bit chinny. Hopefully, not hopefully, but maybe potentially Parsons can touch his chin and that'd be his path to victory. But I think Danny Roberts is the more technical striker. He's the more experienced fighter. He's the veteran here. He's the more well-rounded fighter. And I got to lean to Danny Roberts. And the Parsons not really known for being a heavy hitter finishing fighter to begin with. So, and definitely not at this level. So I'm going Danny Roberts here. I'm going to say decision victory. I think he's going to mix it up. And I also think he's going to be better everywhere. So he's going to be able to mix it up and he's also going to be able to be better everywhere. So if he does need to mix it up, he'll mix it up. And if he doesn't, he'll still mix it up. But yeah, like I said, but anyway, if he needs to lean to other facet of this game, he can always lean to them. I think he can have success in every facet here and do what needs to be done to get a decision victory here and get his hand raised in the decision victories. So in this one, I have Danny Roberts via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the bantamweight division. In our prelim headliner, we got Davey Grant versus Daniel Marcos. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going low confidence Daniel Marcos to beat Davey Grant. With this one, I just like Davey Grant's getting up there. When you start getting up there in age, especially in the lower weight class, the 37 at bantamweight, it might as well be 50 at heavyweight or something, or 50 or 45 at light heavyweight. So he's getting up there in age. And, yes, he's been tough. Yes, he gave Marlon Vera a hard fight in the rematch. Even after all those years, still gave Marlon Vera a hard fight. And he gave, what's that dude? You lose one fight, and all of a sudden you start getting the name, start getting forgotten. But what's that bantamweight, Jorge Masvidal? Somebody going to correct me in the comment section or help me with this one. But, it's going to be, I don't know, but they're going to help me with that. But the guy they compared to a bantamweight, say it was like a bantamweight, Jorge Masvidal. So, if you know who I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about. But yeah, he gave him a hard fight. So he gave a couple of hard fights. And he finished a couple of people. I think he also knocked out Jonathan Martinez. So he's been, still doing good for himself, doing great for himself. Matter of fact, he's been doing better than he's ever done in his whole career in the later stage of his career. So that's a scary concern. That's why it is low confidence. But the thing is, like, a guy could be looking good in their later stage of their career, but at the same time, they could be looking peak. Then just one night they wake up and all those aches start to come to them. And they look horrendous. And the next thing you know, they retire. And they look from the best they ever looked to waking up one day looking the worst they ever looked. Then next day, waking up and they retired. So, yeah, at this point, I think Danny Marcos should win. He's an undefeated prospect, big, long, technical striker. And I think he should be able to just outwork and wear down Davey Grant. And I don't think Davey Grant at this age and at this stage in his career is going to wear the damage the best. And I think Marcos will put him out. And I'm going to say like a third round TKO. I think it'll be a good effort for Davey Grant. Probably going to come out looking good with some steam. But also, I've seen a lot of these Davey Grant fights. He started to fade a lot in these fights. And I think Marcos will be able to pick him apart as he starts to fade. And, age is undefeated. Mother time is undefeated. Or father time, whoever y'all want to call it. Whatever gender you want to give time. But, yeah, I think he's going to get old in the cage. And I think Marcos is going to put him away third round. So, in this one, I have Daniel Marcos via third round TKO. And now to our next fight, we have in our first fight on the main card in the featherweight division, we got Lerone Murphy versus Josh Coulibaugh. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going Lerone Murphy, average confidence to beat Josh Coulibaugh. I think Lerone Murphy is a solid fighter. I think also will benefit him that he is fighting in England, so that's another benefit. I think overall he's the better fighter, and also he's not Milsic Bagdasarian, so his grappling defense is much better. Wrestling, all that stuff is much better. And overall, a much more technical fighter at this stage. I'm not saying always, but at this current stage, he's the overall better fighter, undefeated fighter. And I think he should be able to edge Josh Coulibaugh and maybe mixing his own wrestling, his own grappling here. But I think he should have a striking advantage. I think he should have a power advantage. I think he should have an athleticism advantage. And also he'll have a hometown advantage. So he got a couple perks on him. And I think he's going to be able to beat Coulibaugh here. I do think it's going to be a competitive fight. Coulibaugh is not no easy fight for no one. And his only fight is to a big, huge lightweight and Jalen Turner on short notice. So the guy's solid, but I think Lerone Murphy should be able to edge this one. Should be able to make it a close fight. Should be able to win this fight. And if he doesn't truly win this fight, being in his backyard, the judges should be able to edge him over too. But I'm not saying that, but I do think Lerone Murphy should be able to win clean and clear, no controversy. But a close competitive fight enough. So in this one, I have Lerone Murphy via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, we got Jai Herbert versus Faraz Ziem, and how I feel about this one right here is I'm going for Faraz Ziem. Ziem is like the 10-year, like basically like 10 years his junior of Jai Herbert here. I think Jai Herbert is the more technical striker, but I think they still overall, no, well, not overall, but primarily striking, I don't think the gap is that huge. I think the gap between their grappling is bigger, especially offensively. Herbert ain't no slouch in the grappling, but offensively, he's not. No one's worried about his grappling. Like no one's worried. Like you could box all your life, never did a jiu-jitsu class or nothing your whole life, and you would be okay against Herbert as far as grappling. Like it's something you would not have to worry about. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but it basically feels like that. Like you don't have no concern. Like even if you don't got no grappling, you have no concerns about grappling Herbert. But Ziem, we saw in his last fight against Figlot, who was supposed to do what he did to Figlot. I'm getting tongue-tied, but Ziem did to Figlot what Figlot was supposed to do to Ziem. He was able to score takedowns, I'll strike him, mix it up very well. And that just show you the growth in his game. And also a guy that's only, like 25, 26. These guys can make big leaps and improvements in that when they're that young in age and young in their career. And I think Ziem's going to continue to make improvements. And he's going to show more improvements in this fight. I think he'll look good on the feet. And I think he'll be able to mix it up on the ground, be able to win minutes, take time off the clock with takedowns, get control time, get points, and be able to beat Herbert by decision. I know he's not going to go out there to point fight, but those things will add up and those things will help aid in getting the decision, getting his hand raised in a decision victory. But close competitive fight, but Ziem's grappling is going to make all the difference. So in this one, I have Faraz Ziem via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, we got Andre Muniz versus Paul Craig. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going high confidence. Andre Muniz to beat Paul Craig. What really is the success rate of people, desperado going down to a weight class? You might say, who's the most recent light heavyweight to drop down that has had success, at the lower weight class or at middleweight? I think the most recent guy is Roma Delize. But the weird thing about Delize, it's not like he even lost before he dropped down. He just decided to go to middleweight. Yeah, he didn't go down there out of desperation. He kind of went out down there because I guess he felt like I can make middleweight, and I think I can have more success there. Who knows? Maybe he saw some guy he think he could beat. Maybe he had a training session with Adesanya. He was tapping him out or something. Like, oh, I could beat Adesanya so easy. Let me go down to middleweight. I have a great chance there. Or maybe he beat up Sean Strickland. They kind of train together. He's like, oh, Strickland's top 3 in this weight class. I could beat him easily. I beat him every day in the gym. Who knows? But by the way, he didn't go down there like the typical way, like a Oleksiy Chuck who was like trying to find a new home, or like Craig is trying to find a new home. It's been some other fighters who try to go down to middleweight. I'm not saying all people that go down to middleweight have this bad success, but like anytime you it's with every weight class more. Like you're a heavyweight struggling, you try to go down to light heavyweight, it's not gonna look good for you. A light heavyweight struggling at light heavyweight, you go down to middleweight. It was an era when they were doing well. Like Marc Munoz was going down and went well. Leo Machida went down there pretty well. I mean, Romero at one point was a light heavyweight. He went down to middleweight, went pretty well. At one point, it was that way. It was well, but for the last 5, maybe even 10 years, it has not been a good look to be struggling at one weight class and then decide to go down. Especially in the later stage of your career, it has not been looking good for a lot of fighters. And you may say Jose Aldo to some extent, like look bad for him at the start, but then he was able to almost get back to another title shot. Then he, lost to Muradov and retired. But yeah, most of the time it's not a good look. And it's not like Paul Craig is such a technical fighter. He already kind of chinny at light heavyweight. Now he's going to drain himself even more to go on middleweight. And I don't think it's a lack of skill or being a lack of size. I just think his biggest issue is mental, and he could work on his defense. So I think this is not going to be the best cut for him. And he can look good on a scale all he wants. But I think Muniz, this is his fight to win. And I think he'll be the bigger, well, not bigger, but he'll probably be the stronger, fresh guy because he's used to cutting his weight now. And this is Paul Craig's first time to cutting his weight. And it's never like Paul Craig is necessarily the most strong guy either. So ultimately, I just feel like Muniz is going to be able to just make Paul Craig uncomfortable from the start of the fight, pressure him, probably throw some heavy shots at him, give him the shell up. They'll probably be able to scoop him up, drag him to the mat, be heavy on top, land a ground and pound, get him to turtle up, take his back, and then tap him out first round. So in this one, I have Andre Muniz via first round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, we got Nathaniel Wood versus Andre Filho. So am I hungry? Yeah, so anyway, with this one, I got average confidence, Nathaniel Wood to beat Andre Filho here. I think Philly's a solid dude, but I think Nathaniel Wood is more composed, more consistent. And Andre Filho, he can look phenomenal one fight, then the next fight he looks flat. I think Nathaniel Wood will be more offensive, more consistent on feet. I feel like Philly will be more moments, but I think Nathaniel Wood will be the more active, more complete, and this more consistent. That's what it comes down. He's gonna be more consistent, more active, more consistent. And with that activity and consistency, he'll be more successful. And I think that will also translate to takedown. Not to say that he'll be able to grind out a decision that's taking Philly down. I think Philly will be able to defend his takedown as well. But I think during the later stage, I think he'll have more gas in his tank and will be able to find those takedowns more consistently. And that will help him win a close decision over Andre Philly. So in this one, I have Nathaniel Wood via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in our co-main event, in the women's flyweight division, we got Molly McCann versus Julija Stoliarenko. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going low confidence Molly McCann to beat Julija Stoliarenko. And yeah, everybody just want to mess with my video. Now you got cars honking out there like, it's not even traffic right now. Chill out. But anyway, yeah, Molly McCann versus Julija Stoliarenko. Yeah. I think Julija Stoliarenko is a very concerning fight for Molly McCann. Is her track record against grapplers is like 0-4, so it's not a good look for her. But also Julija Stoliarenko has struggled to make the weight several times, or every time she tried to make the weight class, almost died on the scale. I'm not saying did she almost die? She did pass out, so I don't know, near-death experience on trying to make the weight. Even if she looks decent or like she made the weight well now, who knows how that's going to translate when she's actually in the fight. It could look like, oh, I made the weight, I put on a good poker face, but then she goes out there, she has one round of cardio. She has Molly McCann in some scary moments, but then if she doesn't get to finish, now she's in the second round, is tired, and Molly McCann just in her face, being the active meatball that she is tagging her and not going away, not giving her no breathing room, and just smothering her with offense, and then she's able to put her away. And that's what I think happens. I think Julija Stoliarenko is going to have some good moments in the first. It's going to look like she's about to pull off the upset, and make Molly McCann 0-5 against grapplers. But I think Molly McCann is going to be able to survive. Maybe the bell's going to save her. Maybe she's going to just scramble at the right time, or maybe she's going to do the right defense, or it's going to be a little bit off, and she's going to be able to survive that first round. Then the second round, Julija Stoliarenko going to be exhausted, looking like she see a ghost, looking at across the cage, mouth breathing, hands low, and Molly McCann going to come out there, she's going to be zoned in now. She's like, I just survived that round. Now I'm trying to get it back. I see I see a fatigued opponent in my face, and she's going to go out there and just start unloading her hands, spinning back, probably double spinning back fist, just hit her with the right, hit her with the left. The back fist on this side, back fist on this hand. And it's really just being her face, just tagging her up, and Julija Stoliarenko just going to start to crumble, and Molly McCann's going to be able to get her out of there second round. So in this one, I have Molly McCann via second round TKO. Now to our main event, we have in the heavyweight division, we got Tom Aspinall versus Marcin Tybura. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going lock confidence Tom Aspinall to beat Marcin Tybura. And with this one, I just feel like Marcin Tybura doesn't really have nothing for Tom Aspinall, but obviously this is the show me game. Like at the end of the day, they get in the cage, it's two men, there's no such thing as a true lock or true this, true that, even though it could be a 99.9% accuracy, but anyway, I'm talking too much. That's the true thing about it. But yeah, Tybura really ain't got much. Tybura really doesn't got hands like that. Hasn't really been a handed striker. Doesn't really have the cleanest hands. His best offense on the feet is, as far as danger wise, is the head kick. But I think everyone now is pretty on to it. I guess the best adjustment he can make is maybe getting that same torque on some kicks to the leg. And hopefully, for him, he can blow Tom Aspinall's leg out or make him timid about it, because he is coming off the injury. He's a little bit ginger, or maybe he's a little bit concerned about that, or over concerned about that. And you could take advantage of his fear, and you could shut him down with those kicks to the leg. But yeah, outside that, I think Aspinall should be able to out grapple him, should be able to strike in much better hands. And I would say he get him out of there in the second round. Like, he's been away for a little bit of time, had some injuries, kind of fill out first round, but still kind of touch him up first round. But then the second round, he really goes for the kill in the second round and be able to set those shots up, line them up, and put him out first round. So, not first round, second round. So in this one, I have Tom Aspinall via second round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Aspinall versus Tybura. And as always, thanks for watching.